Something to understand, guys, is when we're looking at this video later on YouTube, or you're here in live chat, is that none of us have these monsters yet. I mean, a couple people do, but most of us don't have them yet. Maybe we have one monster, they're not even fully built yet. So there's really not a great way of testing these monsters until much later in the event, which is one of the reasons I suggest, of course, if you want to summon, go for it. But for a lot of free-to-play players and people that have to be a little bit more careful with their resources, it might be a good idea to wait towards the end of the event and summon on the banners once we have all of the information about these monsters, see how they play in PvP, see how they work in PvE, see how they work in the raid bosses, right? These are all important questions that we need to get answered over the next week or two. So I'm personally going to be saving all of my summons until I learn a little bit more and see how these monsters fare in all the different sections of the game. But for sure, if you guys want to summon, you go summon. Don't let some YouTuber tell you how to run your life. All right, guys, we're going to be talking about the different One Punch Man monsters that just came out. It's exciting to get to finally see the new One Punch Man monsters. Spoiler alert, they all are pretty good. We're definitely going to talk about each and every one of them, go through some of their skills, see what my thoughts are on them, see where they could fall into the meta or possibly break the meta. And yeah, let's just go ahead and get right into it. We got chat over here. If you guys have any thoughts as we're going through these monsters, definitely let me know what your thoughts are, and we'll just kind of have a conversation this whole time. Looking at the banners, we've got the Fire Elite banner, we got Genos and the Atomic Samurai. Both of these are Fire Warriors. We got Garu and Silver Fang. So we got Garu and Silver Fang. I think these guys are extremely strong. Garu is a warrior and Silver Fang is an assassin. So we're going to talk about them a little bit more and kind of based off their class, who they might counter. And then lastly, we've got two strong wind monsters. We've got Terrible Tornado and we've got Hellish Blizzard. All right, so we got some pretty strong monsters to look at here. Let's kind of into our monster book and let's take a look. We'll start with the top one, which was Fire. So Genos is a Fire Warrior monster. Not a whole lot of them. At first look, he seems like he's more of a PvE monster, like in guild raids or like bosses, like Naraka or something like that. Mostly because of this crit damage taken up stack. So as you get to level 10 stacks, you get 150% extra crit damage, right? So obviously your monsters like Argon and other things are doing a lot of crit damage, including, Genos himself. So this I think will be really good in sort of raid situations to really stack that. Some other things that you can see the hashtags here, knockdown, right? That's kind of like a stun in a way, but it knocks them over for a limited amount of time. He does have a personal shield. Damage mitigation, ignoring damage. So we're going to look at that here in a second and what that means. He does have a stun attached to one of his skills, and he has, all important, defense down. So we always love that. All right. So Genos here is basic attack. One thing to note is that it is a 2-hit attack, right? So anytime you see multiple attacks, that's when we start thinking Despair runes, right? I think he's going to be one of the monsters that really could do really well on a Despair set. One thing to note, guys, with runes and stuff, a lot of times sets are really good. Like most monsters can be built on a Rageblade set and they'd be just fine, right? If they're HP scaling, defense scaling, just Rageblade HP, right? So really just kind of looking for those better runes is sometimes better than worrying about sets, right? Like I'm going to say Despair set, I think is going to look good for him. Sure, a Rageblade would do well as well. But don't get so focused on your set that if you have another really nice broken rune just laying around, it's perfect for him and it's got like all S stats, throw it on there. Don't worry about the set. This is the one really though, is Despair 8 times. Let's go to number 7. So he throws consecutive punches 8 freaking times, and each hit has a certain chance to apply crit damage taken up. So let's look at the crit damage taken up is a 40% rate for 20 seconds. So let's see, 8 times 40%, you're looking at 3 to 4, right? 3 to 4 of these crit damage taken up debuffs, right? So if you have like 2 Genoses on your raid team, especially for like guild raid, then you're going to mostly be stacking that, let's see, it's 24 seconds for mana cost. So yeah, you won't be able to cycle this per se. But that's a really good part of it right there. Let's see. The last hit has a chance to knock down the enemy. See if they are knocked down or stunned, uses Incineration Cannon, which is this one right here. So he uses his third skill if they are knocked down or stunned. The damage is inversely proportional to the number of targets hit. Individual damage increases with a fewer... Oh, it says it right there. That makes it easier. We got the crit damage taken up. Knockdown for 4 seconds. Excellent. Use Incineration Cannon. And this is just big damage for the most part, as far as I'm aware. So we'll look at that here in a second. When using a skill, CC immunity, which is always nice, and decrease damage taken by 50%. So, you know, while he's using his skills, and he is cycling his skills, this is on a cooldown, right? But then this is on a cooldown, but like you get to use your third skill more often after you use this. So it's in a way, you're kind of like cycling 3 skills cooldowns. So he will be using a skill relatively often. So this is actually quite useful. All right, cool. Yeah, so a lot going on in this first skill here. On second skill is Incineration Cannon. Max HP is Shield for 8 seconds. So a little bit more survivability. He is a warrior type, so you're going to build him a little bit more survivable than like a glass cannon type in most cases. This one's the interesting one. Per 1% of target's lost HP, damage dealt up 1%. So as he's losing HP, he gets more damage. So that's pretty nice. 45% rate, stun for 3.5 seconds. Okay, cool. So we got a stun built into this. And then defense down right here. If target is under a CC effect, increases cooldown by 2 seconds. Okay, so it is always good. So honestly, running him with more CC, so like a provoke monster or even another stun monster, is going to be really helpful because he can increase the cooldown by 2 seconds of the target. When an enemy is defeated, level 1 mana regen speed up for 20 seconds. Okay. And then, of course, when using skills, CC immunity and decreased damage taken. All right. Honestly, he has a really great kit. The fact that this does 8 attacks, each one landing crit damage taken up. Yeah, honestly, most of his kit is built into this first skill. So, and then his ultimate looks like it's just more of the same and a lot more. So, level 2, you know, defense down, higher rate. So, more damage, more shields, all good stuff. So, honestly, like, I know everybody's saying PvE monster. I think they are all really strong for PvP. The one that I am most interested in is another warrior type. So, funny enough, both of these are warrior types, meaning that they are going to specifically counter the assassins. And who is our favorite wind assassin that tends to show up on every single one of our brawl matches nowadays? Ethna. So, we'll see if these guys are enough to kind of curb the toxicity of the Ethna right now. All right, so hashtags here, damage based on its max HP. So he has an HP build, stun. He's got a stun in there, and he's got some bleed in there. Let's look at his skills. So skill number 1, just a basic attack, 200% attack as damage, but we have to look at his passive later on because that's going to be important for his basic attack. Skill 2 does damage based off his max HP and attack. So different than a monster like Rakan, who is just fully damaged based off of max HP. So it is harder to build monsters like this where they're split like this. He does have a 60% stun rate. And then he has, when using a skill, CC immunity. Excellent. Let's look at the next skill here. Use slashing strikes, damage 4 times based off the max HP. So 4 hits. And we've got max HP damages again, bleed, and CC immunity. Cool. Not a lot going on until we get to his passive. So automatically, as soon as you hop into the match, increases your crit resistance by 100%. So he's not going to get crit on very often, right? Or at all. Is that how that works? I'm not a math guy. So his crit resist will be up by a lot per its master swordsmanship level when using skills. Okay, I think this is the big one right here. So crit damage taken up when using skills when your master swordsmanship level goes up. So we got master swordsmanship level. We gotta raise the level, right? So we're raising the level, and as the level goes up, you increase your crit damage and you increase your defense penetration. So it's just going to be, more damage to the enemy. Per its master swordsmanship level, crit resist down 8%. Interesting. So this is sort of like he gets more damage, but squishier. Is that what I'm reading right now? So he gets more damage as you raise your master swordsmanship level, but he gets squishier as he raises that level. That's what I'm reading. That's what I'm reading. So how do we raise that master swordsmanship level? It looks like when your basic attack critically hits, there's an 80% rate that your level will go up, and it is unremovable. If a basic attack doesn't critically hit, your swordsmanship level goes down by a lot. See that? 1 master swordsmanship up and 3 down. So you need to build him on 100% crit rate for him to really take advantage of this kit. Okay, so in my opinion, he seems like the most fun, like a really like interesting monster to build. Like you build him super high crit rate. Obviously, you know, the crit damage, the HP. So I think he's going to be one of the harder monsters to build in this group. What's the max swordsmanship level? That's a good question. I don't think it necessarily says. I'm going to guess 10 because that's what a lot of other things stack. But if somebody else knows, or you guys can, is 10? I believe it's 10. Okay, cool. I figured, yeah, most things stack to 10 in this game. So that's an important thing. Nice. Yeah, I'm really like, I would not mind having him. He looks really cool. And he looks like his kit's really fun. Okay, so those are our 2 warrior fire monsters. Let's switch over to water and talk about some of our big boys, our heavy hitters. Let's get started right off the bat with the wall of text, which is going to be Garu here. Garu looks extremely strong. Extremely strong. Arguably, possibly the strongest monster in this whole thing. Garu looks extremely strong. So let's take a look at some of the things that he does. Let's put this up here to level 5. So basic attack. We got to be careful though, because you know sometimes your passives will do things with basic attack. So all right, basic attack damage. Is it multiple hits? Nope, just 1 hit. Okay, so we got wall of text here. A big thing about him is his awakened state. Okay, a lot of things depend on his awakened state. And that, I'm going to come over here to the passive first, because that's where we get the awakened state. And there's a lot of text here. But from what I understand, he has some levels of his awakened state. And then he gets more greatest fear. Let's see. Increases every time he takes damage equal to a certain ratio if he has a greatest fear while in battle and is not in awakened state. So yeah, he's just taking damage and he's increasing. So he's a warrior type, so he's going to be in the thick of it. At the start of the battle, you start out level 1. Upon reaching level 10 of greatest fear, remove all harmful effects. Use evil deed 1 time. CC immunity, greatest fear level 1 down. Evil deed. Damage taken down 1%. Oh, cool. That's cool. So per 1% of caster's launch HP, damage taken down 1. So, so as he gets weaker HP, he gets harder to kill. That's right. That's super cool. Like he'll be like at 2 HP and it's like you just can't finish him off. Oh yeah, so he gets harder to kill and he gets more damage as he loses HP. That's great. Upon reaching the 10 greatest fear, use evil deed 1 time. Cool. When awakened, increase damage dealt by 50%. When awakened, CC immunity. Wow. He has so much stuff. Every 3 seconds while awakened, greatest fear level 1. Garu enters the awakened state, becomes invincible and immune. This is crazy. He has so much stuff that he's doing. When using a skill, invincibility and immunity when he's awakened. And then the big thing I was reading was Oblivion. Obviously, Oblivion, I think, you know, it's funny because Ethna kind of counters him, but then obviously it doesn't at the same time, right? He's just so freaking strong. So yeah, he does receive Oblivion. And when he does receive Oblivion, the whole like awakened state goes away and it sort of resets, but he'd probably get back to it really fast. Oh, also he's a Soul Link monster. If using Soul Link in awakened state, increase mana by 1. Yeah, so he is for sure a Soul Link monster. Interesting. Just reading. Damage over time will kill. Yeah, that's a good thought. Damage over time. Okay. See what damage over times would be coming. Obviously, you know, you want maybe shock, right? Because wind monsters and stuff like that. Not a lot of great shock monsters out there, right? I guess Acteon is pretty in the meta right now. All right, second skill. Each hit has a chance to remove a beneficial effect on the target. Again, this is all awakened state. So it's like you read all this stuff. You got to make sure that you get to awakened state first by being in the thick of it. So We'll have to see how fast he actually gets back to that awakened state, but I think it's pretty quick because with all the basic attacks and the skills that are going off from 3 different monsters and a summoner, he'll be back in that awakened state in no time. When attacking, damage drain 35%, and then fear for 4.5 seconds. So I was watching somebody else, Shizizo, actually talking about the fear, and like that 4.5 seconds is a long time. Fear is just as good as a stun. It's just as good as anything else that stops you from doing what you want to do. Fear is what you get at the beginning of the Naraka rate. Yeah, this monster is crazy. I know I was listening to a couple other YouTubers as well. They were able to explain it a lot better than I was. So make sure to go check out Barcode, Shizizo, and a couple others that are able to explain it a lot better. But yeah, this one looks really, really strong. Just the amount of things that he can do all in his kit. He's hard to kill, so if you try to focus him, he just gets stronger. So yeah, so far looks like Garu's kind of the winner right now. So let's go ahead and look at the next one, which is our assassin Silver Fang. I was watching a lot of Storyteller use Silver Fang in his PvP. Definitely something to like combo with your Orbia in order to like just absolutely one-shot snipe something. Seems like a really kind of cool monster. So this is one of the few monsters there, or like the only monster now. We know about weak point damage, like it's coming with the magical archers. So he's technically our first monster to deal with weak point damage. Weak point damage is fun. It is the caster's precision versus evasion. So we don't have a ton of use for either of those stats right now. In most of our monsters, but this will be one of the few monsters where you definitely can keep that really, really nice rune that has precision on it as well. So the way that works is very simple, like precision versus evasion. Precision is your basic attack. So he is a basic attack monster. So that's your first little circle right here. So precision doesn't care about these two, right? It's just this basic attack. And for Silver Fang, all of the stuff he does is mostly in his basic attack. So basically, the more precision you have versus the enemy's evasion, he's going to do more damage. So it's like a Tessarion killer. It's like any sort of archer or mage. Like, you know, somebody brings a segment in, Silver Fang's going to go for segment. They're very likely not going to have very high evasion because they're damage dealers. They're nukers. So they're going to have very low evasion, so he's going to absolutely decimate those monsters. All right, another wall of text. Like, wall of text is bad, but also good. It means that there's a lot of thought put into the monsters. Level 1 master, unremovable, uses water, stream rock, smashing fist, Fang, 1 time. What a name. Fang quickly shifts to the enemy target to consume all master levels and attacks 5 times. Attacking the weak point recovers his HP based on the damage dealt. In addition, applies attack down. Oh, so he has built-in vampire. So Garu and him both have built-in vampire. Weak point attack. See, upon attacking the weak point, damage drain 30%. Yeah, there's the damage drain. So just lots and lots of damage drain, and attack down. Let's look at this second cell. Remove all harmful effects. So he's got a lot of sustain to him too. Like, he just is able to stay alive and not get sniped himself. Because that's generally one of the big issues with assassins is, like, you know, you've got, let's say Ethna. If you don't get your combo off, right? If you don't get your combo off, you get a defense break, you get that Oblivion on there, then Ethna is then killed instantly, right? Most of your assassins are built pretty glass cannon. So, like, if you don't get your combo off and get the job done, that assassin then becomes useless because they're dead, right? So in this guy's case, Silver Fang, he does all the benefits of big damage from the assassin, but has a lot of sustain and ability to keep himself alive, which is really, really good. Level 5 attack speed up, that's always good, right? 32% max HP is shield. So there you go, more sustain. Weak point attack available. So this is 405% attack as damage plus additional damage based off of weak point. Is that how I read that right? So it's like that is the damage that it does based off attack, and then the weak point attack is available, so he'll do additional damage based off of the precision versus evasion. Upon attacking, the weak point damage drain 30%. So yeah, if he's just constantly vampiring and healing himself back up, and he does that on his first skill too. Yeah, damage drain. So really, really cool. Level 1 attack down for 11 seconds. Yeah, it's always nice. And then knockdown for 3 seconds. Or say 60, yeah, knockdown. But that's if he uses this skill. So that's the only time he gets that knockdown. Yeah, he seems really strong too. I was watching Storyteller play with him in PvP. He seems really strong. I don't know if it's a Cleef monster though. I think this is for sure an Orbia monster, because like you need that follow-up. One thing, like I was watching Storyteller do it. The other team had like a bunch of supports. There was actually no mage, or there was no archer for this guy to go against. So he went straight for the Shushu. And so then Storyteller turns on the Shushu as well to sort of combo destroy the Shushu. I think there's a potential for him to work with Cleef as well, just because he is so much tankier. But I feel like Cleefs have a little bit harder time with the assassins, just because we don't have that sort of follow-up damage behind it, right? Yeah, for sure. I think if you have some extra sustain, like the Wusa or the Juno or something like that, for sure, probably would still be really strong. I think he just shines with an Orbia. All right, so that is Silver Fang. He looks really, really cool. We'll have to see some more gameplay of him later on. So the ones I was debating, Terrible Tornado and Hellish Blizzard, I think they're both really strong. Both of them are mage monsters, so predominantly higher damage, right? So Terrible Tornado here. 200% attack is damage, pretty good. We'll have to look at the passive here in a second. So I was reading this one about the summoner. If you're attacking a summoner, restart the cooldown. And this is 4 hits. Deal damage 4 times. If the target is a summoner, restart the cooldown of this. So this is level 1 defense down for 14 seconds. There's an 90% rate. So you are definitely landing this defense down very often, 4 times. So that's level 4 defense down just like that using skill 2. And if you're doing that on the summoner, like a Cleef or an Orbia, then you get to restart that. So that is pretty cool. This is definitely like a nuker. Like this is like you are going to snipe something. And if you don't snipe something, you die. This one, skill 2, use psychokinesis to hurl a powerful projectile to deal damage. And this is okay. So this is simple. It's just attack damage and knockdown. Passive though, immune to silence. Not bad. A very strong meta tank monster right now is Kumar, and Kumar's putting out a lot of silence, right? Cleef just put out, now has silence on his skill 2 for his fire staff, which is becoming a relatively popular weapon to use. And that would kind of suck if she's wind and going up against those 2 fire monsters, you know, Cleef and then of course Kumar. So this kind of helps a little bit in that off element battle, not being able to get silenced. If the target is summoned 30%. So yeah, Josh just put up 70. Okay, so thank you for my math people out there. So yeah, it says 30% rate, but also calculate it is hitting 4 different times. So that will that check will go off several different times. I'm glad we have math people in here because I'm not about that life. All right, here we go. If caster's HP is below 50%, so caster is you. So you are the caster, meaning your monster, Terrible Tornado. A lot of damage, a lot of extra damage. So all of these skills in your basic attack will do more damage if you are low health. If caster's HP is below 50%, silence for okay. So and this is apply silence and knockdown. If caster okay, so it just applies it. Cooldown 45 seconds. So is it the moment you go below 50%, she just applies silence? And is it AoE? Or does it have to be attached to a skill? I guess that makes a big deal. It deals damage within the area. I said, okay. So this is an AoE silence pretty much as soon as she hits that 50% mark. And then 50%, below 50% knockdown for 3 seconds. So a lot of CC going on as well. But I think we've talked about this on, you know, we've watched some other videos. We've talked about this a couple different times in Discord. Like, it seems good, but it seems very like you have one job, and if you don't do that one job, you've taken up a monster slot on the field. And I think her one job is the defense down, stacking and like sniping something. Yeah, and Barcode mentioned in his video, it is immunity meta. So basically anything that's, you know, if you don't have strips along with what you're doing, stuff like this kind of becomes useless. So, excuse me, it's important to have monsters that do strips if you're going to bring a monster like this, especially since her only real thing is debuffs and big damage. Yeah, so definitely PvP monster. Speaking of immunity meta, though, let's go to our next waifu here. Hellish Blizzard. Hellish Blizzard, also the skin for Orbia. Nice. Love to see it. All right. So, Hellish Blizzard, also a wind mage. So, kind of nice that, you know, 2 strong damage monsters, you know, for the water meta. But she's specifically going to be shaking up the water meta here. Skill 1, attack is damage. Cool. And we'll have to look at the passive last. Skill 2, first hit. Let's make sure we're on 7. First hit, damage. Silence for 6 seconds. And then per hit, more damage. So it uses psychokinesis to create a tornado to attack enemies within the area once and silences the monster with the highest attack, then sends the tornado again to attack 2 times. So going for those highest attack monsters could be countering like your Garus and could be countering your Silver Fangs. Going for the highest attack and silencing them. Okay. All right. So not bad. Skill 2 here. Big damage. Use psychokinesis to flip the ground, attack enemies within the area. So more AoE. So this is also silences the monster with it. Just double checking here. So this is AoE. The damage increases if the target is under a CC effect. Stuns the target with a certain chance. If the target is under a CC effect, damage dealt out 50%. All right, so damage. So decent damage, and then more damage if they're under a CC effect, which that includes the stun, and it includes the silence from her first skill. So let's look at her passive, though. This is the big one. If caster uses a skill when its HP is 50% or below, spell shield. So spell shield nullifies like 1 skill, right? So if Sekhmet goes to do like her thing, or if somebody goes to do big damage on their skill too, she'll nullify that skill and it won't happen. So that's cool. Spell shield for 14 seconds if she uses a skill while her HP is below. So she has to use a skill while her HP is below 50%. When attacking with a skill, remove immunity. That's the big one. I think, honestly, this is what makes her one of the strongest monsters in the whole batch. And I've been reading about her skills, is this right here, remove immunity. So when attacking with the skill, so anytime she uses one of these skills, so let's see the cooldown here, 24 seconds and 18 seconds. Anytime she uses a skill, she removes immunity. So that's your Shushu's. Honestly, this would be a good monster to swap in, right? Let's say the other team has a Shushu, and you see the Shushu do their thing, and immunity goes up. Swap in Hellish, use a skill real quick, remove that immunity, and maybe swap out to another monster to deal damage and kill that Shushu, or, you know, kill another monster. So Hellish Blizzard, another one, extremely strong. Seems like the next skill use would refresh spell shield. Yeah, that's a good thought, Josh. So going back to this passive here, the spell shield, if caster uses a skill when its HP is 50% or below, spell shield. So yeah, you're right. Like as soon as she uses another skill and she's still below 50%, then boom, she gets it back again. At least that's the way we're reading it here. So it doesn't seem to be any sort of cooldown. Nullifies all effects, excluding remove beneficial effect. Activated by enemies, except bosses, a certain number of times. Only 1 count will be deducted if the effect... Okay, so this can be stripped. So, you know, it is a... Normally you see this sort of spell shield on a boss, which can't be stripped. It's in purple, but this one's in blue, so it can be stripped. So that is something to think about as well. All right. That pretty much talks about, you know, finishes up our talk about all the different monsters. We're all kind of learning here together. Again, what I said at the very beginning, I'm personally going to wait to summon a lot of these monsters because I want to know more about them. I want to see more people use them in PvP, right? I'm not a whale or anything, so I can't like just whale out and buy a bunch of monsters and test them all out. So I definitely want to see how these monsters fare in PvP specifically, because that's kind of what I'm most concerned with. And then I'll make a decision as we get, you know, closer towards the end, or if I get enough scrolls, you know, to summon one, we'll go and do a summon session at that point. But so far, sort of talking about, you know, my opinions and as well as chat's opinions, I'm torn. Number 1 being Garu and Hellish Blizzard. Those are my 2 number 1s. It's kind of torn. They obviously have very different usages or different reasons to pick them, right? I think Garu overall is a better pick just overall, whereas Hellish Blizzard is an amazing counter to the Wusa Shushu immunity meta. So those would definitely be my top two. I think both of the fire monsters are very strong in PvP as well. Like, I don't see any reason why we couldn't use either of these guys in PvP. I know that Genos, a lot of people are thinking about him for PvE because of that crit damage taken up stack, which definitely is for sure good. But I really don't see a bad monster. I think probably echoing what everybody else said, Terrible Tornado probably the least of the six, but that doesn't mean she's bad at all. It is still a very heavy water meta, so like she certainly can be used in a lot of situations. But yeah, that's what I would probably say. Now, what's really cool is that we do have some 4-stars here, some LD 4-stars. Let's talk about King first. We'll cover them real quick because everybody's going to get them, and we don't have to make as big a decision on these guys. King is really cool. He just stands there menacingly. He just stands there. Doesn't do any attacks. He just applies debuffs. That's his whole thing. He stands there and applies debuffs because he's so freaking intimidating. Resistance down, damage taken up, right? Crit damage taken up, which is definitely good. Oblivion, which, you know, this makes it another monster that does Oblivion, an obtainable monster, right? So we got Ethna and Tessarion, which a lot of people have Tessarion. Ethna, not as many. Yet Agent's got our girl Isis, Dover, and I don't know if anybody's actually ever used Ghoul for its Oblivion usages. For sure. But yeah, I think where's he at? King. I think he's going to be sort of your free-to-play guild raid monster, right? He applies Oblivion, crit damage taken up, accuracy up is always good, attack down on bosses is always good, and resistance down is good on bosses too. Like, all of this is really good for boss engagement. So I don't think I would put him, like, if I was soloing something, I don't think I would replace one of my other monsters with him. But if I'm in a team of 3, or if we're in a guild raid, I can certainly see some people bringing him in order to bring out all of his defense or his debuffs. For sure, pretty cool. The other one that's actually quite interesting and basically is a counterpart to Vagabond here. Like, out of all the PvP 4-star monsters, you know, we know Shushu is the GOAT, right? We see a ton of Shushu. We see a little bit of Darien here and there. There's a couple other 4-stars we occasionally see. This guy definitely seems like he's going to be a pretty decent 4-star free-to-play sort of monster for PvP. Attack down's always good. Knockdown is nice. It is a CC effect, which combos with a lot of other skills that we've seen today. Invincibility and Provoke. And from I actually saw the skill, the Provoke area is huge. Like, it's a massive area that you can provoke. Whereas Taor, like our other favorite monster that has Provoke, his area is really pretty small. So honestly, guys, this is your new Naraka guy too. You can use him in PvP, but you can also bring this guy into Naraka, switch him out instead of like a tractor or something like that. This is your new Provoke monster. What's his cooldown on it though? See, Moomin Rider, Provoke is 3 mana cost. So there you go. I have to go back and look and see what's better, Tractor or this. Tractor's probably still better, but there you go. So Provoke is actually really strong in PvP. If you can get a Provoke off really quickly, it makes it to where Orbeas can't do their combos as easily, right? Generally, Orbeas need a little bit of a combo. They need a couple monsters to help them out, and they do big damage all on one monster, right? So Provoke is one of the kind of counters to the Orbea burst damage, is being able to provoke the team, and then Orbea can't target the one that she wants to target, right? So you'll often see some high-level players, like, you know, go for that Provoke monster first when they start the match. So definitely a really strong monster. Let's see. Let's look at the other skills real quick, though. He's got his bike that he throws, which is awesome. Justice, Crash. Decent damage, attack down, and knockdown. This is the Provoke, and he's invincible after he provokes. So it's like, hey, everybody come attack me, and then for 4 seconds, they can't do anything. and then revive with 100% HP when defeated. So you do all this work just to kill him, and then all of a sudden he's back and ready to use these skills again. So I think he could be really strong in PvP, honestly. Like, he just seems like a little bit better Darien in some cases. All right, guys, that's going to pretty much wrap up our little chat on all of these different monsters. I think, you know, my personal opinion, Garu is probably the strongest. Hellish Blizzard being the next strongest, if not, you know, on par with Garu. Both fire monsters seem to be equally good in their own rights. It's one of those situations where they're all pretty good. So you just kind of make the decision that you want to make, you know, whatever seems cool to you. I wouldn't necessarily just go with, you know, whatever the best monster is. I'm probably still going to go with Genos just because I love him from the show. So that's probably what's going to happen unless something like really changes. But I doubt it. All right, guys, that's going to be it for me talking about all of different monsters. Again, my suggestion is to wait a little bit. Let's test these monsters. Let's see, you know, let's let the whales test it. Let's let, you know, some of the Korean players test them, and kind of figure out who's best and who we should summon for if that's what you're in it for. So, all right, guys, as usual, like and subscribe. Links down in the description for Discord if you guys have questions. There's a lot of smart people, much smarter than me, down in the Discord that can help you out with all your different questions. Or if you just want to theory craft and debate different monsters, we love doing that down there as well. As always, thank you for joining me on TopherSmurf, telling you to keep on gaming.